What's going on, Spittin Chiclets fans? Biz here, and thanks for tuning in to another edition of the ECHL Player Relief Fund interview series brought to you by Boykies. What is Boykies, you ask? Boykies is a delicious air-dried beef biltong. It's a healthier version of jerky, made in the USA with high-quality ingredients. More protein, half the sodium, and zero sugar. Not only does Boykies make an amazing product, but they have been generous enough to donate $10,000 to the ECHL Player Relief Fund and will be offering fans a Biz20 promo code for any product on the Boykies.com website for 20% off. We know times are not easy right now, so we're trying to give you as much content as we can. So we hope you enjoy this interview, and please stay safe, and once again, thank you to Boykies.
Our next guest is a goalie who played 543 games for 3 different franchises over 11 NHL seasons, most famously here in Dallas. He played in 3 All-Star games and was a Vezina finalist and a second-team All-Star in 2003, second to the other Marty Brodeur. That's not too shabby. Nope. He also won a pair of national championships while at Michigan. That's where the not a big deal kicks in. Welcome to the Spittin Chiclets podcast, Marty Turco.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate having me, man.
Championships. I didn't even know that. Thank you for bringing that
Two of them.
Those teams were wagons.
Ooh, probably more impressive was that we went to 4 Final Fours. Every year we went.
Were you there the year in Cincinnati when the ice melted?
Yeah.
Was that against BU?
It was the first. It was happened during the first semifinal game, which would have been Colorado College and Vermont.
Yes,
so St. Louis and Timmy Thomas and some knucklehead broke the Freon pipe. Like while they were, when they used to drill.
Yeah, when they were drilling the
like
hole.
Like a real drill. And so this is 1996. And so for that whole area of the ice, there was no...
Did they put a pylon out there?
So they finished that game.
It was me when I was at BU.
So they finished that game, and then we were supposed to play like at 7:30. We didn't start till 9-something. And it was the only time ever in my career, in my life playing hockey that I can recall, where at 10-minute mark of the first period, the horn went, and we flipped ends. Because right at that spot of the goal, it was really mushy, and they had packed it all, and they brought out the fire extinguishers trying to keep it on ice. And then anyway, we ended up finishing the game, and obviously we won.
I mean, as a goalie, you're probably pretty happy because at least one end, you're probably not going to be getting many shots. Guys are sinking.
No, but he played the puck. He was probably rattled. He's like,
I didn't stick around the net too much. It was, that wasn't my job. My job was to win the game. That's what I looked at.
There we go.
Freshman year, you lost in the semis to Maine, a triple overtime. Classic game. Now, do you remember that loss as much as you remember the national championships? Because we have cup winners on all the time, and they say, I remember the cup loss more than I remember the win.
Without a doubt. I get opportunity to speak in front of, kids and corporations a lot, and it's one of the things I bring up. It is the losses, it's those moments of falling down, part of what's wrong with a little bit of the culture these days. It's like, hey, man, you got to fall down and scrape your knee to know what it feels like. So you don't want to stop falling down, man.
Yeah. And without getting picked up by 4 people around you, just maybe get up on your own.
Spray on it, whatever. But
the Euro soccer
guys.
Also, I'll tell you, that loss was so instrumental just in my whole career. It was that game that I learned what it meant to be a Michigan man. Up at that point, freshman year, I was playing. Red Berenson had me in there. I almost played every game. We got the national championship, semifinals. You lose, triple overtime. Dan Schermerhorn deked me out. I think I was going for my 19th poke check of the game, but I finally figured it out. And so, but anyway, after the game, the seniors were taking off the Michigan jersey for the first time. Or for the last time. And then, in my head, I'm like, I got 3 more cracks at this, right? But watching them have a hard time taking off that jersey, knowing they'll never put it on again, it was right then, it's like, then I was all in at that point.
What is a Michigan man exactly? We hear Portnoy talk about it all the time.
Well, the football team is not giving you much to be proud of these days. But.
Well, sometimes you got to look at the top when that happens. Michigan man for us was, embedded in us by Red Berenson, who embodies what a Michigan man really is. Mm-hmm. For us, it was education and being he always said, you'd be a good son, you'd be a good boyfriend, you'd be a good husband, and be a good father when it comes time. Those are things that matter. The rest is easy to figure out. And so he put a lot more stock as a Michigan man into being a good teammate. It was important.
Did you expect it to be that intense before you got there? Like when you went on your visit, were you whipped into shape, so to speak, or was that first year that experience?
It took some whipping. It took more than even the 1 year. We never stopped learning when I was there. When we were there, that guy was like just such a mentor, and still is to this day. Like he's still ripping off sit-ups and push-ups in the sauna. He's 80-some years old. He still skates. Like anyway, he's the man. So we were constantly learning, but I was scared to death to go there, honestly. Steve Shields was the all-time winningest record holder before I got there. They were going to Final Fours, and they had great teams, all Americans, but they never won. And so Red's like, you're coming here to win. And so there's a lot of pressure, but learning just never stopped.
From Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario, they had the Greyhounds at the time there.
Yeah.
Were you a late bloomer? Did you not?
Yeah. What happened?
Did they pass up on you? Is that a little?
Yeah.
Would you have gone to the O?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh,
wow.
No shit.
Well, I totally got lucky. I was a late bloomer. I wanted to play for the Greyhounds. I mean, it's a small city. We had Greyhounds living with us. We were billet family. So when I was a little tyke, with no hair anywhere,
They were your idol.
Yeah, but they were men. They're 17, 18, 19 years old, living in my house. I never seen men eat that much food. And I was like, went to a lot of games, knew a lot of them. And as I got older in high school, I had guys my age that play in the OHL. I just wasn't good enough. So I never got drafted to the O. And as I started blooming in midget, a chance as an 18-year-old, I never got invited to camp. And finally, when I was good enough and they did invite me, I gave them the old FU. I went to camp with Oni and Sylvain Cloutier, Roman Nadur, and Bertuzzi was there, and Guelph. I went to the Guelph Storm Camp. And I stayed my 48 hours. And at this point, I was offered a scholarship by Michigan Tech. And I said, no, I'm out of it was all overwhelming. Went there, Canada Cup and all that. Anyway, long story short, I did 48 hours. I was by myself. Had no agent, had no advisor, whatever. I walked up. I wish I knew the gentleman's name. It was the GM of the Guelph Storm at the time. So this is in 1993, I think. And I went up there after my 48 hours, and I said, and he goes, hey, we'd love to have you play on the team. You made it. And I said, okay. I said, just be honest with me. I said, so what I'm doing here is the next 2 years, I got to beat out Sparky MacArthur, who was my age. He was the starting goalie. And I got to get an NHL contract. And he's like, honestly, pretty much that's what you're doing here. And I was like, thank you for your honesty. See you later. I'm going to one of these scholarship things. And that's what I said.
Pretty mature decision, dude.
Yeah, that's crazy at that age.
But I was 18. I just turned 18. So, kids have to make decisions now. It's 16,
Right.
And parents, I think, end up screwing it up most of the time, and they think fastest way to the NHL is the way to go. And I think the OHL still is great. I mean, some of my best friends in the world all play junior hockey, and there's nothing against it. It's just for my personal experience, having an education, now retiring, right? You're like, oh, it's nice to look back and have 4 years at Michigan.
Absolutely.
When you enter the business world.
I think that unless it's a kid like Connor McDavid or something where it's top 5, say, first overall, and he's going to be in the NHL, I think college is the way to go. But I wouldn't argue it either way. It depends on who you ask, what people think. But go ahead.
I was going to say, I got one more question about him growing up. Were you always good at handling the puck?
No.
How'd you learn that?
Well, I was good with a regular stick, but as a goalie stick, you got to think, in the 80s, early 90s, I wasn't big enough. I wasn't even 5 feet going into high school, so I was tiny.
You were under 5 foot?
Going into high school, even when I went to college as 19, I was still 5'10", 154. So I just wasn't strong enough to move the puck. And, we don't have sticks like you do today, right? I didn't have gloves broken in, and so it wasn't until really college that I got strong enough and got better equipment, and I started really moving it, and then really made a difference when I turned my hand over playing the puck, and then that was then the rest was.
Who taught you that, or you just figured it out?
I was the first one.
No way.
Yeah. No, I don't get any credit. Don't need any. But this is a good way to get some.
He's not rattled by that.
I don't think our goalies on our team know. I think probably 99% of the goalies in the world play with their hand flipped over. I'll tell you why I did it. You imagine, you got you guys rimming it around, but you're on your backhand. And as a goalie, you got your hand underneath. You just got that catching glove, right? And I kept whiffing on it, going on I was off my toe. And finally, I just turned my hand over, jammed it into the boards, and then I flipped my hand back over and played it. And then we introduced a forechecker to the drill. This was, college. And then I had to play it really fast, so I did it with my hand over. I was like, ooh, sugar, that's money.
It was
Then all of a
way
sudden,
easier.
I had a backhand that I could put in the glass, and then my dispersion rate went from maybe 30 degrees to 100 plus. So then I could move and dangle with the puck, and it was a game changer for me. And so that's when it started. It was just all by happen chance.
And also one key little factor, I don't believe there was a delayed game back then. So if you did in fact go over the glass, you were okay, right?
Like, fucking
And no-
Turco, stop ripping it over the glass, bud.
I told someone this yesterday because when we were watching, someone got hit in the crowd. The puck went in the crowd. And I was like, I remember hitting people. Not on purpose. I mean, I cut this guy open at Yost in Michigan one time. I hit him right in the face. Wasn't looking. Blood everywhere. I'm like, oh my god, how am I going to play now?
That's a Michigan
I didn't
man.
feel that bad, actually. Should have been paying attention. But
I shouldn't have been standing there.
Did you? I'm sorry, I don't know this. Did you score a goal?
No.
Did you come close?
Yeah.
Couple just missed.
I think
nets?
I tried 4 times, like legit, in my career. I was this.
You got to be up 2 goals then, correct?
Well, that's the thing. Like, I'm not that. Some guys would. Like my buddy, Mike Smith. I mean, tie game, he's going for it. Smitty don't care, and he scored. But probably the greatest one I had. I got my first shutout in Boston. Eddie wasn't with the team, and then we went to New York. And Eddie was supposed to play, and he left, whatever. And so I got to play against the Rangers, and I just had my first shutout against the Bruins in my first year, and we're winning 2-1 in the Garden. I have like 37 saves. I'm like first dog, ready to go, and it's the perfect scenario. Puck, just like a turnover. Everybody's coming my direction, and it's at the bottom of the circle, right on my left side. And I'm like, this is, and I let her rip, and I'm like, perfect. And then Peter Nedved jumps up at the red line.
No.
And knocks it out of the air. I'm like, what's the chance of that happening?
And it was going in.
I'd put a lot of money to say it was going in. If not, it would have been really darn close.
He just didn't want the minus.
I was chapped my ass, but I think I tried maybe one other time, a few times, like between legs and stuff, just off a face-off, but never really came close other than that one. It would have been a career changer.
You already mentioned Dallas. Hitch was your first NHL coach.
Oh, yeah.
I wrote down whenever I bring his name up to former players, they always kind of smile, laugh
Oh,
like you
God.
just did. What was your experience with him like?
Well, I really didn't have him that much, so my experience was great because I got to watch those 2 cup runs. I was a third goalie for Black Ace for both those teams. And, the first year, I could mimic some goalies, so I could do Grant Fuhr, even though I was the wrong hand, which was my favorite to do. Had to do Patrick Waugh, which, turning over the puck is no problem for me.
Oh no, shots fired.
No, you ask him. He was so unbelievable, right? And the series of Colorado Dallas were the best. I remember sitting in the crowd at the reunion because I'm like, you got to watch this, man. This series is unreal. But our play was to give him the puck because he'd turn it over all the time. And so
Put it on his stick.
and then we played Hashtag in the finals that year, and Hitch he comes over to me. He's like, hey, go in the net and lay down. So I was like, yeah, no problem. So I started skating away. I stopped. I'm like, what does he really mean? So I went back. I'm like, what do you mean lay down? He's like, fucking lay down. Just lay down. Look, I want the guys to learn to shoot high. I'm like, they know how to shoot high. Trust me. Did you watch warm up 10 minutes ago? Ripping them off my bean, dude. So anyway, I go lay in there, do a double pad stack. I'm just laying in the net, and these guys are coming out of the corner, right? You can just imagine how this goes. They come out of the corner, catch a pass, and shoot it. They're eye rolling it too. It's like, this is a stupid drill, but I'm the idiot laying on the ground. And all of a sudden, they get bored with the drill, so it becomes, catch it, slapper, one off the can. I'm taking one up near the neck. I'm getting choked. And then, they shot one time in it, and I'm like, fuck. And then anyway, Joe Noonan came over and got picked. He's like, get up. This is embarrassing. So
He's like, Hitch, this
Joe's
drill's
an awesome
over.
dude, great
Like
leader,
putting your
but-
French girls.
So that was my one hitch, but really for the most part, I didn't talk to Hitch because Eddie played most of the games in our tenure together. But I knew when I was about to play because he'd like say good morning to me like 3 days before my start. I'm like, call my wife, and I'm like, I think I'm playing this week.
Hitch said hi.
Hitch said hi to you.
Were you shocked the first time you saw him have one of his fuck you battles with one of his players after
my God.
playing under red for so long?
Yes, because it went from 0 to 60 real fast. I was like, this is the NHL. This is, and a Stanley Cup championship team. But it was part of his beauty, man. The guy's a brilliant dude. He know that he didn't play the game. The guys wouldn't respect him in that, and he just made everybody hate him or as long as they were doing it together and the bitching, and then he was so methodical. He knew what he was doing every single time.
Ironically enough, with all the coaching stuff that we've had to talk about, Hitch is never a guy I think anyone would bring up, because it was all about like just getting the team to play good, and he didn't care. Everyone hated him, but he wasn't personal or anything. No. He'd just be all over you if you turned it over and little things. I felt like with
Absolutely.
my short time with him.
He's like the guy just tapping you on the forehead, he's like annoying, and and when the big wheels would yell at him, so that let everybody else yell at him. And I remember looking over at Morrow, our first couple of years, and I'm like, man, this could really jade us for the rest of our career, dude. Let's not pay attention to it. But it was quite comical, man. He got right into it, the guys, but he took it all in stride.
We kind of skipped over your time in the minors. You spent 2 years in the IHL.
Oh, yeah.
I was going to ask him that, Biz. It's funny you just said that. I was going to say, did you know by the end of the second year, like, this is pretty easy for me down here. I'm going to at least get a chance?
Not easy, but I was.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah.
You can tell when you're ready for a next level.
I didn't play a game in the NHL until I was 25. It took me a long time in college. I was a year later than most.
4 years.
4 years, 2 years in the minors. Got called up sometimes. Never played a game though. So by the end of the year, looking back at your career, it's like, man, I thought I was pretty good at times, right? And then I'm like, man, I was so fortunate. So when I turned pro, we had Eddie, Roman Turek, who was unbelievable, maybe the best practice goal I've ever seen. I'm like, he didn't move and he couldn't get scored.
He was a silly sider, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was wrong-handed. Awesome guy. And then Manny Fernandez was in our system. I was like, looked at him. I'm like, man, that guy looks like a goalie. I'm like, I wish I looked like that when I got on the ice. He moved unbelievable. Mike Bales was my teammate in Kalamazoo.
They were stacked at that position.
Yeah, Daryl Ray was ahead of me on the depth chart too. He's our, still doing color for us. He was practice goalie. I'm like, am I ever going to see any shots?
Might be the best color guy in the league too.
Yeah, he might be the best color guy in the world.
Yeah, he makes the game fun.
He's the best, and he was still playing. He's practice goalie, so he had some value back then. So anyway, Roman Turk, we traded after we won the cup. Because his expansion was happening.
That's right,
so
yeah.
we wanted to be able to protect him.
To get something for him.
And then the next year, Manny Fernandez won the expansion draft to Minnesota. So after the my second year in the minors, I'm looking around. I'm like, there's no one left.
My competition just got gunned down.
So not only that, before I ever played a game, I had a one-way deal. Because that's that silly rule in the CBA that says after your third year and you are 25 and you have and you haven't played 30 games in the NHL, you're an unrestricted free agent. So before that season, this is the only time in my life that my August birthday helped me out. So at the end of that year, I still would have been 25 come July 1, and I hadn't played one game.
So they were pretty much like, you're taking what we're giving you, but it's still going to be way more than it would have been.
Yeah, but I was probably I signed my qualifying offer that summer, and they told me not to. That's my only bargaining chip was to have a deal, but that was like 10%, but two-way. And so actually I signed it in the receiving line. My agent came through. We're doing shots of Zambuca up in Sault Ste. Marie, and he's like pulls out. I'm like, hey, didn't they tell us not to sign? He's like, F them, man, we're signing it anyway. So right in my receiving line, I signed that deal, and then the night before the season started, I signed a 3-year one-way deal. Without ever playing a game.
Hey, what were the guys saying in the locker room? They must have been just giving it to you.
Yeah.
They're like, it was like day before, like no press, no newser, like no press release or anything. Then the guy's like, wait a minute, how much you making there?
Yeah.
I think I was still making 400 and some, but
not too shabby.
But the third year, was it? They argued like, oh, we want a team option, and I ended up backfiring on them because they took the option that third year, and that was my year. I had the low goals against. And
man, you set a National Hockey League record at the time. I think it was 1.74 goals against average.
Well, I'll give you some credit. 1.72.
Oh fuck!
You were really close. So.
Hey, Biz, you're gonna interview me. Get it right.
I'm not the stat guy. That's wit.
The coolest thing about that, it was just a great year. It was like my platform year, but. I broke the record. Tony Esposito had it.
Oh, no shit,
and he's a Sioux guy.
Oh, really?
From same hometown. So I got a really cool letter that he wrote.
Nice.
Congratulations. I'm glad a Sioux guy broke broke the record and that he'd set in like the 70s or something.
Not to burst your bubble, I think somebody beat it like a year or two later. Maybe it was Mika Kriprasov.
Yeah. Kipper beat it the next year. He only played 30 games, so it's like big fat asterisk beside that.
Game 27, third period.
The minimum. What was the minimum? It had to be like 30.
It might have been 25 for that.
That's kind of
25 or 30.
Should be 40, 45 maybe.
Yeah, at least half.
What was it like coming into the league though? And I'm not even going to ask about backing up Ed Belfour. I'm more curious about a guy like Brett Hull, who is like, hey, young rookie, I'm going to shoot it at your head if I feel like it, right? Or I mean, you must have got tortured by those older guys, those vets.
I loved it. I did. I loved Madonna, Zubov, and Hawley because they had bombs. But what I was just a quick guy, right? I'm not a big dude, so I could catch up to them. And what I liked playing against them because wherever they were aiming, it was going. So if they were aiming top glove, it was going top glove. If they're aiming off my shoulder, it was going to hit me in the shoulder. So to read it was a goalie's dream.
Way better, yeah.
You just had to be ready. I mean, Holly would shoot from outside the blue line, and you had to be ready. I mean, pretty much goalie stance and ready to go. It was just a missile. Loved it. So one time he was struggling though, Holly, and he actually was great to me. You know, when the night I got engaged, he set me up at a restaurant with my girlfriend at the time, now wife, and he was awesome. I loved his BS in the locker room. Like, he is just so funny. I mean, as long as he's not talking about you, you're good, right? So one time he was struggling, and Rick Wilson, our assistant coach then, he's like, hey kid, make sure you're ready, before practice tomorrow. So we go out there with Hully, and I mean, we are at the bottom of the circles, and he's passing it from the corner. And between the bottom of the circles and the dot, right there, and he's just one-timing him. And he starts short side wide, and he's like, just go down. And then all of a sudden, just like, he started narrowing the scope, and man, all of a sudden, tink, 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 and it's getting real close. And
you're hearing
like, guys, take a break. And I was like, hey, Mr. Hall, that was pretty close to my head. He's like, haven't fucking hit you yet, have I? and I'll be honest, I don't think he ever hit me in the head once.
Come on.
He had
that accurate.
I've never seen anybody like it. Not even close. How accurate that guy's shot was. You see some of the old highlights, and you're like, these goalies suck, right? They don't go down. He can shoot on the ice, and so, I mean, he just
picking corners.
Plus, he had such a whippy stick that he could get it off anywhere. 2 feet behind him, 2 feet in front of him. I mean, you go play golf with him. You're like, okay, this makes sense. The guy's so, like, his high-end coordination is just off the charts, and big legs, and, I mean, his old man could bring it, and so could he.
I feel like we're going to be able to ask you about all these guys, and you're going to have these little stories. You coming in under Ed Belfour, was he a chatty guy? Was he kind of the one who, okay.
Not too chatty.
Did he see you as a threat?
At the beginning, when I was a third goalie, cup runs, the guy was... I had a great seat to watch him. He might have been the best. He was the best goalie in the world, and it was really cool because he mowed down. It went Salo, Fear, Wah, Hasek. Then it went Salo. I think we played San Jose. Maybe Steve Shields. Nothing against Shieldsy.
Michigan guy, right?
Yeah, and then it went back to Wah, and then Brodeur. And, man, he toe-to-toe all of them and beat most of them other than that last series. So he was unbelievable, and he's really good to me then. He's not a chatty guy. And then when I, started backing him up. And, I mean, dude, before I ever played my first game, I was with the Stars organization for probably, 8 months total between camps, call-ups, cup runs. So I knew everybody. I knew the media. I knew the wives. I knew girlfriends. I knew the whole staff. Like, you spent a lot of downtime in the playoffs after 2 months straight. And we did it 2 years in a row.
And everyone knew about your one way.
So everybody the one way too. So everybody loved, liked me, and he didn't like that, and so he ended up moving my stall one time. I tell a story in front of him all the time too. So I came back after my first year in the NHL, and there's just only 2 goalie stalls, right, to fit all the equipment, and he had the equipment guy move me to the other side of the pillar so he couldn't see me. So now I'm like, I'm putting all my gloves and stuff on top of balancing act with my mask. I'm like, come on, man.
So you guys laugh about all this now, and I mean, some people they have to remain in that competitive spirit, and it's it's a bit cutthroat. It's a business.
Oh yeah, man. It's when I went to Chicago, Tony, I was like, hey man, don't give up your net, right? I was taught differently in Michigan. Like I'm bred to be a good teammate. That's just my style. I'm a giving person. I'm very outgoing, and some guys aren't. I don't have a problem with them. It never bothered me once. That's just not who I was. But he was unbelievable. And then right at the end, he wasn't playing good. And then when we didn't re-sign him, and I became the starter. But I was so proud of him when he went to Toronto. like that's my favorite time of him. The Keaton gear he had, the Toronto Maple Leafs, and had some playoff runs. So it was fun to play against him the first time, but I was proud of him. Really proud of him to this day what he's doing.
Wasn't there a rumor about him when he got to Toronto and they asked him to do fitness testing and ride the bike? Is that a true story?
I wasn't there.
Oh,
I don't.
When he said there, he looked at the guy and he said, "There's no bike in my crease," and walked out. I've heard
even
that.
if it's a wives' tale, I just want to believe it.
Yeah, let's pretend it's all true.
I believe it.
So there had to be some like fuck you Dallas when he went to Toronto and still had a lot of game.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
they were the ones that said no, you're out of here.
Yeah.
Wow.
We missed the playoffs that year, his last year. So that was the year that Bob Gainey fired Hitch, and then they rode Eddie right to the end. We didn't make the playoffs, and I was like,
Now he was 36, unrestricted to beat. Did that create a lot of tension? You were basically stealing his job with your play. I know you said he moved his locker, but was there personal tension between you two, or was it just like?
No, I mean I didn't feel it, right? And I wouldn't let it. Like I could have probably let it eat at me, but
other guys might have.
That's just not my demeanor,
Yeah.
Do you think it kept you on your toes though and made you better?
Oh yeah, I mean that's part of it's like saying, hey, maybe he's trying to make it hurt, or that's just him. I think it was just his personality. He wasn't a chatty guy anyway. But I just think that was more who he was, and I was, every day I walked in there, I made sure I said hi to him. No,
were you?
I found him like, hey, morning, Ed, how you doing?
Were you on the team when? I'm sorry to go back to Hitch, but I forgot to mention this. But were you on the team when he kicked Modano and Hull off the ice in practice, and then they were at the golf course?
Yeah, no, I was down in my end. They kicked him off, and it happened more than once. But the first time that ever happened, Holly just said no. And just like, get off the ice, And Holly's like, he said, no, I'm not leaving. And he couldn't actually kick him off because
he could barely skate out there.
Yeah, he wasn't doing so well.
He wouldn't even go to the other. They had to move the board over to the bench side.
He got pretty good, actually, but he's over his career.
Was he out there with the skating coach?
No, no, not at all. But so Holly said no. But the one time they were going to go play golf, and so they're trying to get kicked off. We could just
come on.
They'd be like warm up drills, and then Holly just shoot in the corner, from the red line, and it's just like kick off. And then they didn't say anything. They skated right off. 4 minutes later, you saw both of them walking out with golf shirts on, waving at the boys. Yeah. I'm like, who's the smart ones now? Madonna's killing.
No, and the version I heard too is that Hitchcock called. He called one of them, I'm pretty sure, and he's like, "Hey, I shouldn't have kicked you off. You guys all right?" He's like, "Yeah, we're great. It's no worries about it, buddy." But then I was teeing off on 7.
4.
Yeah, they got out of the.
I forgot about that.
Another thing. Were you in Mighty Ducks?
What?
Were you in the movie Mighty Ducks?
No.
Remember when they played the?
That was the Minnesota North Stars, dude.
Oh shit!
That was like
I thought it was the Dallas.
No, Madonna was though. Yeah.
Madonna and
Grinnell's gonna have to help me out here. We're not gonna put that.
That one's not getting cut. What about Mo? What do you remember about Mo? I mean, besides just the type of player he was, the jersey flapping in the wind, but game came easy to him, huh?
Everything did. He put a football.
Everything did. You're right.
Football in his hands, like
he's Mr. Perfect.
He just looked like he's got a tour envy golf swing, honestly.
Yes,
it's
beautiful.
Beat it. I remember he used to have this forward, and I'm like, dude, why you pull out your driver? He hit this forward 275. He is, man. He's just an unbelievable athlete. Just a good dude. He probably doesn't ever remember sucking at anything.
No,
no. But he was great, man. He was really fortunate, as today's game. If you're that good, and there's more expectations on you because the league's young. Mike, as a younger player, I mean, I've heard him say it. Dallas, we had so many older players and leaders, so he could just go out there and play. And we had tough guys around him too, and so he was just, man, he was magical to watch. Like every day, I mean, sometimes I just sitting there watching, I'm like staring at him, right? I'm probably drooling outside of my mouth, like jersey flapping, whole deal. Then I'm like, oh shit, he's shooting at me though. So I had to pinch myself a few times, but he was great with me. That year that I was about to play my first year, we just got married, and I stayed at his house for 6 weeks for training camp and all that. So he was a good dude. No one slept like this guy though. That's what I remember. I mean, he'd sleep for 14 hours and they'd take a 3-hour nap. I'm like,
you gotta stay looking beautiful.
I'm like, my back's sore just thinking of it.
Was he easily the most skilled teammate you had?
Yeah, he was just easy. I mean, I've been on the record saying that Zubov was the best player.
I was just going to bring him up.
And it's been really poignant just because he went in the Hall of Fame and he's starting to work for us now. He's just he's just an anomaly. Like,
Yeah.
he'd go down the ice and he'd just shake his head, and guys would break their ankles, So I had a great treat, man. Those two guys would pass the puck in warm-ups and practice, and then they throw Morrow on the line. It was like they just laugh, right? They have Holly, Madonna, Zuby passing it to them, and then Morrow over there just grenades coming off his stick, man. He couldn't handle those guys' passes when he was a young kid, but he was a determined young buck, and he did it. And anyway, he had a heck of a career, but Zuby, man, he was just...
Zuby ripped darts, didn't he, too?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I
Russian.
love cigarettes. I love it.
Oh.
He'd head fake you and then smoke a Marlboro Light in your face after he scored.
And then play 30 minutes, take 2-minute shifts, and never be out of breath. I'm like...
Russian gas.
Dude, Red Army, go.
I want to go back to your rookie year for a minute with Belfour. Like you said, he's a decade older than you. Like, he didn't talk much, but did he lay any ground rules down for you from the get-go? Like, all right, kid, don't do A, B, C, or D, or make sure you don't do this, any of that shit?
Yeah, before I ever played, and it was after the Cup, I believe, he's just like, always have respect. And I probably didn't know what he meant at the time, but I learned quickly. And so everybody gave him a space. And what he was, when the game was on the line, I mean, that guy was money. And so... whatever else came with him, we all have baggage, right?
Yeah.
So guys are trainers, coaches, us, you let him whatever he needed to do, because come game time, the guy was on. He didn't practice that much, so it was great for me as a third goalie.
Really? He would take a bunch of days off.
He'd probably practice total of 50 minutes during both Cup runs, maybe a little more than that, but honestly, he would just be rarely out there. I mean, he had a bad back, and he was getting a little bit older, so he's like, hey, man, I'll be there for puck drop. What else do you need me to practice? So it was awesome for me. I got all the time in the world in that.
Going to playoffs, you had a couple great seasons, but you guys ran into those Colorado teams.
Yeah. They weren't even that good. We just sucked. It was back-to-back years we lost in the first round.
Correct.
It was the lockout in the middle, so it didn't feel as bad, but... we had good teams. It was a good rival. We lost in 5, I think, both times. One year I wasn't very good. The other year was just shit luck, and we sucked. So I remember after the second one, my mom was a hairdresser, and so she always like, my hair done, and I'm an Italian guy, right? After that, she was at the house. We went out with the team. We got pretty banged up. Woke up in the morning, and I'm like, "Where's your clippers?" And I shaved my head. I was like, "Something's got to change, man. Like, we can't lose to Colorado 2 years in a row." Like. 2 back-to-back, and shaved my head, and I had a shaved head for the rest of my NHL career, which is another whatever years.
Really?
And then my mom got sick, and so I grew my hair back. And anyway, she passed away, but I was like, grew my hair back for my mom. But that's Super Colorado series anyway.
Then the year, though, Detroit beat us in Pittsburgh in the Cup final. They were so loaded. You got to the Western Conference Finals and ran into them, right?
Yeah.
That team was stacked. They were even better the next year when Pittsburgh beat them.
Yeah, they were. It unfortunately wasn't a great series. Morrow was hurt after that big hit in the round before when we beat San Jose in quadruple overtime here to go to the Western Conference Finals. Morrow had a big hit. He wasn't the same. Ribeiro was hurt. Brad Richards, I think his hand was... is basically a bunch of excuses. But I've never beaten Detroit going into that. In Detroit. I think I was 0 for 12 going into that game with a bunch of ties before there was...
You had success at the Great Lakes Invitational, I'm sure,
a couple times. So anyway, we ran into that Detroit team, and we were down 3-1, had to go to Detroit. It was an afternoon game, and I never won in Joe Louis. as a pro. And I'm like, oh, God. Anyway, I was first star. I think I had 2 points. Got the win. It was the only time I ever won. I'm usually at Joe Louis. I was eating Little Caesars by the end of the second period. Tip, it's like, you're out again. I'm like, God,
yeah, you had Tip. I had Tip as well.
Tip's the best, man.
He was
Tip.
awesome. Great
really
players coach. You're happy to see him get another job, obviously.
Yeah, I was. I thought his gig for the Seattle expansion team was going to be awesome for him, but you could just tell he didn't.
He was itching.
Yeah, little bad taste probably leaving Phoenix. We want to get back in there.
He's a competitive guy. People don't really. He wants in, and like you said, it was probably going to be too long, and then I think the opportunity to coach McDavid is something you can't pass up.
I will say it's right before New Year's right now, and the Oilers are not exactly playing great. They got to get things figured out. You mentioned a guy who. Isn't known by enough hockey players, I think, for how great of a career he had, and a Stars legend, Brennan Morel. And would you not say people kind of underestimate the career he had, and basically I don't think he gets mentioned enough. And I think he's similar to Shane Doan in the way they played and how they treated teammates. He just strikes me as a great guy.
Yeah, you're bang on in all fronts. He doesn't get enough credit, and I always say, I mean, he's he's one of my best friends. We were roommates when we were young, lived on the same street. Our kids are all around the same age. Our wives hang, so I spent a lot of time with him still to this day, and his probably his greatest attribute turned out to be his worst, which is his toughness. The guy played through injuries and pain that most
They probably shortened your career.
Like and it did for sure. Didn't shorten his golf career though. That guy still plays.
Yeah, he's a
shit
stick.
ton. Holy Nikes! But he was the toughest cookie I've ever seen, man. And I remember one day he got stepped on, and someone tried to skate on his arm, and that didn't work out for him. He severed 2 tendons. 2 more were just totally gone. And you just tell the way he was skating off the ice. I'm like, man, that's something really wrong with this guy. And I went, and I probably led him 2 goals, but I was trying to get the period over to go see how my buddy was doing, and just white in the face and in shock. And I was like, man, oh man, it's like, just remember grabbing him by the hair and be like, man, you'll be fine. Then I go play, I was like,
that's scary.
Seriously distraught. Happened in Chicago. Anyway, the guy is super tough. He finished with 994 games, is my guess. I mean, I really love to see the Stars sign him and just play him, for 6 games.
People might think that doesn't matter, but it just fucking.
You're so close.
But an organizational standpoint too is you only have a certain number of contracts.
No, I'm not saying that. I mean, personally,
yeah,
like,
of course.
like, come on,
of course. Even halfway through the season or something, like just to fucking. I mean, Christ, dude, if I could play in the NHL, an out of shape Morrow could have. There are so many guys who used to play for the Stars who are now living here. The minor program must be getting better and better and better.
Oh, you guys would be. Everybody would be shocked. I hear, is there hockey in Dallas? I'm like, hockey in Dallas? Like, we the team, we own and operate 16 sheets ourselves. And they are full. We could have another 16, I promise you, and they would be packed till midnight.
That might be one of the best NHL.
Not even close. No one touches that.
Right? I mean, that
no NFL, NBA,
ice and it's full.
Oh, full.
Wow.
Not even close. We've had 3,000 people in the last 4 years play adult hockey. Never mind the kids. So we run all the house league. We have our 5 traveling teams that are here in Dallas. They're going up and winning silver stick tournaments, and they're going up to Quebec, and they're going out to California.
A good Massachusetts team, 12-year-old kids, they played a team from Texas and from Dallas, and they got work, they were telling me. So it's no surprise.
No, we got, if you go up to our rink where we used to practice in Valley Ranch, you look around, those are pictures of D1 born and raised kids here. And girls, we had 2 girls from Highland Park, where I live. The sisters, they got D1 scholarships to Penn State.
Wow.
Aren't there a few guys who played for the Devils, or at least last year there was a couple of Texas kids?
Yeah, Coleman grew up in Plano.
And then there was one other one, because I remember reading the stat pack right before the game started to do all my homework.
His brother was up, had some NHL time. Seth Jones grew up here. There's a lot of players. It's starting to get more and more. But our hockey, when they came here, helped. And then we won the Cup in '99, that really helped. Going into bankruptcy in 2009 didn't help. But what the organization does now for youth sports is crazy. Is it a lucrative business? No, it's not. You know how expensive it is to play hockey. Well, it's equally as expensive to run it. But we're almost at that point you can't really let, if someone else does it and they screw up, the NHL team will take the blame no matter what, right? So our business guys, I mean, it's tough on them, man. You got to pay attention to it, but it's been really important. So hockey here, up and down, boys, girls, adults, it is beyond growing. And corporations are moving to Texas. They're coming from Canada, the Northeast, Midwest, even the California companies that are moving here. They've had exposure to hockey, and they're all asking. They're like, "Hey, where's the rinks? Where am I going to move?" And so it's been a big hit for our business overall. But youth hockey here is killing it.
Going back to Morrow for a second, what was that like when he was taking over the captainship from Madonna? I know it was a big deal in the media. What was that like on the team in the room back then?
Yeah, it wasn't a big deal because, I think deep down, Mike was just hurt, just embarrassed more than anything.
Right.
but we were all friends, and we knew.
And
Morel,
what are you going
Morel
to do? Like sulk and
yeah, he was a good pro about it.
Yeah.
He went and did it. He publicly, he's like, man, wish it'd been a little different. He might have been mad at somebody, whoever did it, but there was no ill feelings towards Morel inside the locker room, and we were running the show anyway. And Mike was just one of the best players in the world, and we needed him.
Sorry, what?
No, go ahead.
Who was your most underrated teammate you had in Dallas?
That's a good one, really.
I got a guy in mind. I'm curious if it's the same guy.
Yeah. I'm trying to go too deep.
He's just going to say it was, no matter who you say.
Yeah, no, maybe with the right guy. I think I'll go with my defenseman because I'm a goalie. Probably Stefan Robida.
Okay.
And Trevor Daly's still playing, and he was a big pick. He always left you wanting a little bit more. Because he was an unbelievable skater. And
he was incredible in junior. I played in Saginaw, and he was in Sault Ste. Marie.
Yeah.
I don't think he was. I think he might have played 3 years of junior, but
he's so
and it was
good,
a shame because all that who is it? The
Van Beesbroek, Johnny.
Van Beesbroek stuff there that happened. But he was a stud.
Good. He come down in practice and he's dumping in the corner, into the net on me. I'm like, how am I not stopping this guy? And why is he not scoring more in the real games? I'm like, try to do that in the game, bro. He was good. He was effortless too, man. Really talented athlete.
I played him in under 17s in Timmins, Ontario. The Team Ontario, Team West, whatever. He might have played 45 minutes in a 60-minute game. I think he had 3 or 4 points out, and it was right before our draft year. I was like, this is the best player I've ever seen. The way he skated was. But Robida. Oh my God! I remember he fought Jarkko Ruutu. It didn't go great for him, but he was a warrior. He would block shots, play through injuries.
With his face,
and his face showed that he played through anything.
He was like a Bobo doll. Like he'd go in the corner and he'd go wet noodle and he'd get creamed. I mean, it should be like a rock'em sock'em of just Robida getting hit, but he'd bounce up every time. And I'm like, something to be saying about resisting a hit. Just go in there and just get dummied and then get up. Anyway, he was awesome. I bring him up too because I spent more time with him in the locker room than anybody. He was my stallmate at American Airlines Center, and then probably half the time on the road, my trainer put him beside me. So he was my guy.
Were you gonna say Lettinen?
I was gonna say for forward. Yeah.
We retired his jersey.
Yeah, you don't understand.
So it's not really underrated. The guy got some hardware. He's going to be in Hall of Fame.
What did you play? 5 Olympics, you said?
Right.
5 Olympics and 4 of them he won medals.
Yeah, it's tough to say. Underrated is such a subjective thing. I guess
underappreciated. No,
that's maybe a better word. Yeah.
And he's here. I just saw him yesterday. He's in town. No shocker what he's doing for the Finnish Ice Hockey Federation. The guy. The problem with him is he never had a talent to do it. And we talked about yesterday in the locker room. We had this alumni experience, and we were in there. And J.J. McQueen, our old strength coach, is still our director of personnel. He would never had talent, not to work out. I remember one time J.J. told him to slow down. It was like March, and he had like a lingering knee issue, and he's in the gym just squatting and deadlifting and doing chin-ups. And J.J.'s like, just get some rest, man.
Yeah, right.
He had abs like the size of Biz's hands. Like he was a warrior, but he played the game the right way. He'd come off the bench, and Holly and Mo would be like squirting water in their face, and this guy would be taking a towel to his face every shift. He was dripping sweat. It was hard work, man, but he didn't know how to do anything different. And he's one of the best guys I've ever been around. And you ever say it's hard to say, hey kid, want to learn how to play hockey? Watch your lead then. There's a difference between watching them, and there's a difference between doing it. And not everybody can do it. It's just too hard.
I guess the end of your career. I mean, so not everyone gets to go out the way they want. Were you happy?
Who did? No one gets
Ray
out the way.
Bork, maybe. Yeah.
That's it. You always think it's going to be a special ending, and then it just ends.
I blew both my ACLs in the AHL and in San Jose in front of 800 people, and then fought a guy, and that's how I went out. That was on my own terms.
I think I lost. I don't remember the last game. Might have been the Island. Might have had a win. I might have got dummied back in Boston, but. Probably the one thing looking back, I took the 1-year deal in Chicago. I told my agent I only want to talk to the Flyers, and the 2 teams were in the finals that I thought needed goalies. And a 3-year deal from Philly, and I took the 1 year. I was like, I'm gonna go to Chicago, have a great year, and then kick it off. And
really,
obviously that didn't work out.
Damn.
But I was there. I got to help mentor Corey Crawford. Now it's his first year. They just won their first cup, and the guys were had the cup hangover and. I got thrown to the wolves, but
Well, you could have been burned in effigy in Philly as a goalie instead for 3 seasons.
I was like, man, they just treat people like crap in Philly. I don't want to go there. But maybe a little regret. And then the next year I went to Salzburg.
Yeah.
Played for Pierre Paget, who's an awesome dude, but equal nutcase. And he knows it. He's like, I know I'm crazy. He just can't help himself. But we won a European championship, like 3-3. It was one of the coolest things. I went to play in Davos for Team Canada.
Oh, for Spengler.
For the Spengler, I got to do that.
Over there. We were chatting about that.
It's really neat. Mark Crawford came over, was our coach, and he ruined the whole experience for me. Like, thanks, Crow. So we had him in Dallas at the end too. I'm like, come on, I don't need to see you anymore, Crow. Jake Allen was my partner in that. That was a lot of fun.
Where was he coming from?
Miners.
Oh, they loaned him out for that?
Yeah, maybe I don't know where it was then.
Great guy.
Oh, it was awesome. I really enjoyed him. Yeah, he had Eddie. He told me a Belfort story.
Oh, here we go.
I think Eddie. So Eddie was a goalie coach for a hot minute in St. Louis, and so Eddie would sharpen his own skates, and Eddie, like no joke, the one half of his blade was straight like normal, like all of us have, but then the other half, and I think it was the toe part of it, twisted to about 45 degrees. So you can stand there and get a better edge push, but then he would slide on his back of it. I mean, I'd never tried it, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. But you literally have a machine, made a machine, Eddie did, to do this to his skates. And so not only that, I'll get to the Jake Allen part, but Eddie also, so now they could pop blades out, right?
Yep.
So the first time when you had the screws in there to take your blade out, Eddie invented that. He sold it to CCM or something.
No shit.
Get out of here.
The original one.
The original one.
He's got a beverage company too, so this guy
He's got a distillery. Yeah, man. I'm telling you, he's a fascinating guy. And anyway, so so I'll finish with the Jake story, but so I remember, we had all the plastic cowlings, that had the blade in there, and you get them sharpened 4 times a week, and in order to get new ones, you had to get a new pair of skates or take the whole boot off and re-rivet it. And so my trainer would do it all the time, and I was getting low, and my trainer was like, hey man, you should ask Eddie, because Eddie had this prototype he was using. He goes, you should ask Eddie, about the steel. So I went up to him one day, and I'm like, hey Eddie, man, I hate when this blade gets down. We give him the sob story before practice, and man, plastic, I'm sliding up there. And I had Bowers at the time. He's like, try the CCM. He goes, try the CCM. The blade's taller. And he skated away. I was like, you knew what I was talking about when you give me any. I was laughing my head off. So anyway, they go to that Traverse City tournament, like the prospect camp. Yeah. So St. Louis was there, and Jake's like, so I get in there. I'd never met Eddie yet, but here's my goalie coach. I go to get on for the first game. They don't have any practice. And apparently Eddie went into the locker room the night before, sharpened his skates like he did with the twist in it, and never told Jake. Jake said he went out there, fell on his face, and he got to the net, and he stood on the goal line and played the whole game just standing. He's like, I couldn't move without falling on my face.
Did he say anything to Eddie?
No, he didn't say anything.
Oh, fucker. That's unbelievable.
What a goalie coach move.
Yeah. I'm just wondering if Eddie was up there laughing,
he had a Hashik mask in there. He's like, too bad you're playing with this now, you fuck.
Is that not an equipment violation?
My D coach brings me righty sticks for the night.
I don't think there's any rules on blades.
Okay, I know they got some weird.
Oh, there is now. Way to go, RA.
And when I turned pro, they what was illegal? I remember Freddie Shabbat had it. Right on the instep of the cowling. He riveted in like a piece of metal, and so that's what they were using to push.
And now it push you.
So
up.
now you see all the guys pushing. They took away the plastic and they made the boot a little bit higher so they can get more clearance on it. But some of these French goalies were using it, and I was like, man, how's he moving like that? Anyway, and then so that they had to make that illegal. But what you do, the sharpness of your blade, I don't think they can.
God, we could talk to you about it. Let's talk about Bishop a little bit, because he's the goalie here now, and I know the start of the season wasn't necessarily.
He's been solid for a couple of years here.
He's been picking up lately. He's one of the best goalies in the league right now.
I mean, he was up for the Vezina last year.
Yep. Last couple, I think. Yeah.
He's fortunate as Anton here. Hodovin is playing great too. So we got a really awesome 1-2 punch. But I mean, when he's on, Ben Bishop, he might be the best in the world. I mean, to be 6'7" and be I actually never been really jealous of anybody too much in my life. And I look at him, put his feet in the post and go down and look around like he's not paying. I'm like, F off, man. Like,
I've been told he's the most like athletic person like a lot of people have seen too. I guess he's unreal at every sport he ever played.
He hit bombs at the baseball field.
Yeah.
He hit bombs at the golf course. He's 6'7", man. What a tremendous athlete. He plays the puck. I mean, I think he's very underrated. Some people give him credit, but in this market, it's hard sometimes. The guy moves the puck brilliantly, and he's just a good dude. We actually played against him. I played against him when he was 17. He was playing here, junior, up at the Texas Tornado, which we no longer have. And it was during that lockout year, and we're like, hey, let's play a game, So we did a charity game against a junior club, and we had a better team than even ours. Like Hully came and played, I think. Nah, he might have been too chunky.
He didn't skate during that lockout, Hully.
Remember what the Phoenix?
Hey, you just did that to work in that jab at Hully.
Wow, he looks good now. Like Carbonell came and played for us. He was like retired for a bunch of years. Anyway, we had like a legit NHL squad, and we played junior, and Bish shut us out for 2 periods.
Really?
Someone's like, someone go down there and run him. I'm like, no. The guy's 6'5". He wasn't even 6'7" yet. He's 6'5". I'm like, don't run that guy. You're going to go beat him up.
Well, it's obvious that like talking comes really normally. You're a great storyteller. Now you're on the business side of things for 5 years, you said, with the Stars?
Yeah, about 5 years, and the last 2 running the foundation on top of it.
So what is that like? What's your day to day like, and what is it like in terms of events you guys have, things like that?
It's lots, right?
Are you real busy?
Real busy. I got a great staff though. I mean, they're tremendous, and so and they're young. I mean, when I first got in there, I was like, man, office every day. And then I was like, are you people needy? And it turns out, I mean, I really enjoy going to work. Everybody's great. I work with Bob Basson, too. He's our alumni director. He's in our group. Anyway, I think it's fascinating to learn the other side of after playing and always being intrigued of how it works. But, when you're playing, you're like, man, I got to focus on my job, especially as a goalie.
Of course.
I couldn't even entertain the thought of owning a car wash, man. That would be on my brain. I'm like, man, I'm an all-in kind of guy. So I do. I really enjoy it. It's in terms of respect, it's like you got to show up every day. Is it Monday, Friday, 9 to 5? Like, no. We do a lot of events and got to do some really cool things. We just pledged $2 million to a school here in South Dallas. It's called St. Philip's School and Community Center. I don't think any team franchises pledge that much money other than family cash. And so some of the things we're doing in the communities, man, it's been really changing, and we get to to make that change to control the policy of how we're doing it, where our money's come from and where it's going. I look at it, it's like kind of like a player, right? It's all I know, and I'm literally trying to make our fans proud of what we're doing with our money in the community. So on a day-to-day basis, I mean, nothing kicks the seats off like playing in front of 20,000 people on a nightly basis, but it's a pretty cool secondary gig at it. And so the business side, Brad Albert's our president, our CEO Jimmy Lights, like these guys, I've known them forever. They're my bosses, and I get to see how it all works, and it's been really, really fascinating.
What was the office like the day when Lights unloaded on Van Sagan last year?
I think it was the weekend. So I don't really. Actually, you know what? I take it back. I was in Canada, and then I remember I turned my phone off. I was up at the lake house, and then I don't know. Someone texted like, "Good time to be away."
Well, we sent online a couple people if you had questions for Marty Turco. One guy asked. Ask him about notoriously getting guys with the open the door trick when you weren't playing. People were falling in constantly.
Nah, once or twice I let it happen. I don't want to ruin the whole book that needs to come out at some point, but things that happened in my career, like I was accused of betting when I was in Chicago. I don't know if you didn't pull up that nonsense. Yeah, there's an article.
On hockey?
Elaborate.
Well, no, I was in Montreal. It was like a friendly bet. It was a $5 bet. Someone gave me money, and at the end of the game, I ended up giving them back, right? But became this crazy thing. And I remember
for $5
for really nothing, right? And people had footage of me giving money back. I'm like, the guy gave it to me, Anyway, there's articles say Turco bets on game. I'm like, that's Pete Rose crap.
It's a little misleading.
Shit, Yeah, and then like a Chicago Sun or something nuts like that. But anyway, I opened up on Roman Polak. I got him good. Now he's here, and I realized how big that guy is. I was like, that's probably a bad move on my part.
Some asshole tweeted us asking about the Suit Breakaway.
Oh yeah, that's a infamous one.
Move.
If anybody, two things. Like one, I had a hard time with Detroit, and if there's ever like my my nemesis,
Kryptonite.
it'd be Pavel. I'm like, at least it wasn't you, no offense.
Yeah.
At least this guy's like, the guy's a wizard, So he, and so on the move, he actually did it in a game, not in a shootout. And Ray Whitney tells the best story because he goes, I was on the ice, I was chasing him. I'm like, you couldn't catch him either, right? He's playing for the Wings. He goes like, man, I had a great seat for that. So in that point of my career, like that time, I was at a bad place. I was struggling. So he came over, he gave me like the moonwalk move, and I was in the corner picking up my jock strap over here, and then the asshole. I mean, I'm literally not even in the net, and I'm going farther outside the net. And what is it? He pretty much goes bar down with nobody in the net.
Yeah, he roofed it.
I'm like, so anyway, it's the first time I'd ever seen the move. So whoever he scored on afterwards, I think they're a bunch of idiots. I'm like, come on, you don't learn, you don't watch video and stuff.
Well, he would like
he did it to me first.
He had the Belfour sharpen on his skates for that.
Yeah, that's
what he was doing.
How do you push like that on your edge? That was sick.
He's going backwards,
while moving forward. Somehow.
Oh man, he was a treat to watch and obviously play against, but I slashed him every chance I got.
When you did struggle as a goaltender, how much of it was always mental? I mean, was it just something you had to, like a funk you had to work through? Was it like a block? How would you get through that?
Yeah, it's just work, man.
Just
sometimes
work through it, really?
You try everything, changing your skates and gloves. You try and, tell the wife to turn around a different way, it's like anything you can just to do something different. And at the end of it, it's like, for me, it was the body, man. Like if I wasn't in good shape or, something was tight, and just because I need to track that puck,
Yeah.
And when you do, you're like, oh, this is fun. Come to the rink every day. And when you suck, man, I remember yelling at my trainer one time. I thought someone put my skates on. I was like, where are my skates? But I was just tight. My foot was all cramped up, and something else was going on.
So Marty, you had 15 beers last night. Your feet are swollen.
Usually that helped, actually.
How did you first start becoming a goalie? Were you a younger brother, like the gear? What first got you into being a goalie?
It's a good one. I played forward as an 8-year-old, first year of AAA and stuff. And then the next year, I went back to house league, and then they asked,
That's it, huh?
They're like, so I played half in, half out. And then I remember we played the younger AAA team the first time, and I was a forward, or as a forward, and we lost. And I'm like, next time we played, I'm like, put me in net, I want to go.
Huh.
Really?
I got the juices going, and I still think we lost, but I just like, I enjoyed making more.
3-1 instead of 10-3.
I made a bigger difference as a goalie in the game, from my little minute perspective, and I enjoyed it. And I remember my dad was, my mom's like, no effing way, this kid's gonna be goalie. I hate that. My dad's like, don't worry, it'll just a fad. He'll grow out of it.
Never did.
Yeah, never did.
26 years later, I was still kicking him out.
Do you still skate at all?
Yeah.
Are you in the pads or out?
No, I play forward.
Every goalie, when the career ends, they're done playing goalie. I'm a forward now.
I mean, I'm just thinking about going to my garage, picking up my goalie shit. Like, I'll start sweating right now. You know how it is, man. You get so
twitching.
You get it so effing spoiled.
Oh,
show up in Colorado. There's my really dry, non-stinky equipment. It's perfectly put out. And then, I'm in Phoenix. Oh, my God, it's dry again. It's amazing. And then you get new shit whenever you want. And now I'm like, I'm going to go to my garage, pick up this crap.
I got to air it out. I got to wash the laundry.
I got to carry it in.
Ask my wife,
I don't have
too.
wheels. I don't have bags with wheels. I'm so jealous of these kids now.
That's...
I did play. I play about twice a year as a goalie. And once I get the helmet on, like, I love it. I'm yelling at guys. I was yelling at Larry Murphy the other day. Larry's like, what the fuck are you yelling at me for, kid? I was like, just ignore me. It's just, when I put the
more into it.
And, but, 2 days later, my back's killing me. My hip's like falling off. I'm like, what a bad idea that was.
I want to go back to the end for a second. I totally forgot until I was doing the prep work. You finished up with the Bruins. You played the last few
had
games.
A cup of coffee with them.
Yeah, shutout with them, right? You said? Or that was your first shutout against the Bruins?
Yeah, first one against them.
Now,
you didn't have any shutouts for the
How did that work? Because you couldn't play in the playoffs because it was an acquisition after the deadline. Does Chiarelli just say, hey, you want to come up, get a little running up here? How did that play out?
It was really weird. And I can't. And you'd have to tell me. I don't know of another player that signed after the trade deadline where you couldn't play in the playoffs because everybody has a minor league team. There's really no reason for it. And if
you bring in a Euro, they can play for some reason. I mean, like
Yeah, I don't know the rules.
Remember that Tolvanen for Nashville at least? I don't know how it works, but you're right.
Or what time of year, but
yes.
So I was in Salzburg, and the trade deadline was that Tuesday, and we were playing in the playoffs, and we ended up losing that Thursday. And so we were out. We had like crazy payroll, and we weren't supposed to lose. We were the Red Bulls. Anyway, we lost, and my wife flew over with my little guy. My girls were in school, and I'm like, it was spring break. So I was like, my parents were flying over with my girls. I had like a nice trip in Italy planned for everybody. And then Saturday rolls around, and ESPN America, the Bruins were playing, and Turco was in that. And Thomas was the other goalie, and Turco got hurt. And I just remember looked at my wife, and I'm like, too bad that wasn't last weekend. There's my chance, like there's a team. And then we go for dinner on Sunday, and my agent calls. I'm in Europe. There's nothing going on Sundays. And he's like, can you get to a fax machine? I'm like, dude, it's Europe. Place is closed. Like, it's tomorrow. I'm like, what's up? What's the deal? He's like, Charlie called me, and, they want another goalie, a veteran goalie, and asked me about you. And I was like, yeah, man, I go to hotel. What do you want me to do? So anyway, I don't know where Peter was, but it took another whole day. And so, I'm 6-7 hours ahead. And by the end of Monday, I still hadn't heard anything. And I woke up to my phone going bananas. Just bzz, bzz, bzz. This is 1 a.m, and the Bruins announced it. I didn't even know.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know. My agent called me. Maybe they were trying to call me. I was sleeping, and my phone was going crazy. Then I got on the phone like it was on TSN, and then called my agent, and so I don't speak German, right? And I can't call the Red Bulls who booked my flight. So I had my code, and I went into Air Canada, and then I had to pack up all my stuff. Left my wife and the little guy. I'm like, babe, back in the NHL, man. Back on that insurance, Let's go.
Oh, yeah.
6 more months.
We might want some more kids here, honey. We got to get the...
Got to pay for that Italy trip.
So anyway, I flew myself back to Toronto in the middle of the night. I had to pack up all my stuff, carrying the gear. Had to get a taxi, go to Munich, which is 2 hours away, a direct flight to Toronto, and then the Bruins happened to be in Toronto that next night. So time I land, I went straight to, which was Air Canada Center then, threw my bag on the bus.
And you hadn't skated since you guys lost. In the
You're like, where the fuck's my per diem pack?
It's probably a week since I had skated.
Not bad.
Yeah, where's my per diem?
Well, dude, I mean, we appreciate
I was
much.
going to ask you one more thing, and I figured we should end with it. Avery.
Yeah.
You guys didn't get along great, and
no.
I mean, he mentioned it in his book. Like I was.
Dallas didn't go well for Aves. He said that was a big.
He wasn't here long enough, so he's just like he beats his own drum.
Remember that game in Boston? I mean, I remember watching it, being like, "This is the biggest gong show I've ever seen in an NHL game." Him and Ott were just running around like madmen.
Yeah, I mean, the guy. It was disappointing because I'm like, he could shoot it.
Yeah,
he could pass it. He could skate. Clearly, it was tough. And I just think when he was here, he just couldn't care less. And really, I think his brain was either in New York or L.A., and that's just, he wanted to be on one of the coasts in the big city. And I've never played a player.
He said that to us.
He had a publicist. Publicist, yeah. He had 2 of them.
I shall go with the big ones.
3 tries.
2 more than everybody else on the team.
Yeah, he had 2 of them. We were like, what do you need that for, man? We got you. This is Dallas.
Yeah, we're all chilling. Well, seriously though, thank you very much for coming on. This was a great interview. And
how long was that? Shit! Look at you, eh?
Hell of a career.
Want to join the pod?
Yeah.
Oh, we need to talk about when you went to the Olympics too. That'll be for next time. So
yeah, we'll keep it. And for the Ontario crew, my cousin and I, we got a beer company. I got to send you guys some brews.
Sounds good. I like brews.
Beers?
Dude.
What is the?
So it's called Kingsville. It's out of Kingsville, Ontario, just south of Windsor. Right on, it's like right across from Sandusky, Ohio.
Oh,
so
where
it's
the
really
Canadian
cool.
Ballet is.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
You got it. Just south of there, though.
Okay, perfect.
Couple, 30 minutes. Right on the water. Peely Wineries is right around the corner, largest one in Canada. Anyway, we got a great brewmaster. My cousin and I own it. And so we just got a tap room over there, like one of the best restaurants in southwestern Ontario. But we came over with our light one. It's not in beer stores yet, but we're just waiting on word from the government. But we call it Light A.
Light A.
And it is delicious. There goes your new Bud Light.
Check it out.
Well, we know how hard it is to get an
everyone.
LCBO, so we'll be looking out for your
You
beer.
guys need some help? We're in.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We need a lot of help.
Seriously.
All right,
Anyway.
I'll call my cousin when we're off. Mark, I'll be calling you coming from 2 and 4.
Marty Turco,
Thanks
thank
so much,
you very
Marty.
much.
Appreciate
you
it,
guys.
brother.
Well, we hope you guys enjoyed that interview. Thanks again to Boinkies for their support of Spittin Chiclets and the ECHL Player Relief Fund. Make sure to check out boykies.com and enter promo code BIZ20 for 20% off all their products. We out.